everybody. I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving if you celebrate, if you're in North America. I want to thank everybody for being so patient, not just with the holiday, but for the delay in covering this show. I really appreciate how kind, like 99% of you were. So I want to show that appreciation. Oh, just like X-Men Superfan, always so generous. I usually do 5 memberships every week at the beginning of the week. Thank you, Mando Mouse. And I saw Danny also gifted a membership. I'm going to do 20 because you guys have been so patient and it's been a minute. So I'm going to gift 20 memberships to get 20 people right into the chat. So again, I really want to thank everybody. You guys are so appreciative and so patient with me. And we're going to talk Stranger Things. I will say that off the top of the bat, off the top of the bat, I thought that the show, I thought episode 1 of season 5 was very bad. I was kind of nervous. I was like, oh man, this is like the same thing as always. But then I thought that the ending of episode 1 had a pretty good cliffhanger. And I was like, well, right, bathtub scene's coming up. And it was. Thank you, Big League Chew. Thank you, Adam Sphere. And then I do agree that the end of episode 4, I always tell you how something ends is the most important because, I mean, obviously you need people to get to the ending, so you can't be that bad. But the ending is very important because that feeling, that emotion is what people will take away with them. And Stranger Things, season 5, part 1, episode 4. Oh, it's ridiculous how this is segmented, but it was very strong. So anyway, we're going to go through all the topics. I got a lot to go over. And then, of course, at the end, as always, I will do a Q&A because that's the point of a live, of course. Thanks, Sean Torius. I'm glad that you guys want to have this discussion. The things that I liked and didn't like about the show. It is weird to have Welcome to Derry playing at the same time because obviously, Stranger Things takes a lot from Stephen King. And they feel very, very similar. Okay. All right. So here we go. Here's the starting, and then we're going to go through the characters. Thank you, Bubbles. I love seeing your guys, how I rated in your YouTube recap. I'm very honored to be listed for some of you. You guys, and also thank you. You're very sweet to say about my CNN segment. That was a lot of fun. All right, so let's get started. Here we go. All right, so I want to point out that some of you have noticed that I don't cover a lot of Netflix shows, and that's because of their binge release model. A binge is extremely difficult to cover because it's a 4-hour movie, as I've written here. Like to cover a 1-hour episode of television in a full breakdown takes about 4 to 5 hours, and that's if I'm really racing. It's 6 if I don't have to work like a crazy person. So that's to cover 1 hour of content. And, even when I do a spoiler review for a movie, not only is it only 2 hours, maybe 3, but, it's a spoiler review for a movie doesn't require the same level of detail that I think people expect from a television or streaming show breakdown. You want the screen grabs, you want the details, and sometimes it can just feel overwhelming for me to have 4 hours plopped down in front of me and have to do a breakdown right away. So let's see how it goes doing something like this. So maybe I can cover more binge model. Maybe the binge model has to be more of like a podcast kind of review than the typical breakdown that I can do for something that airs weekly because it's just absolutely overwhelming. So HBO, I have to tell you, HBO has the best model I've seen. And I think it's one of the reasons that they get so much coverage. And for some reason, nobody spoils the HBO shows. Like we get, the way HBO works is that they'll give us a couple episodes up front to review, but then they'll give us the episodes the Monday before they release. So I get them 7 days in advance, basically. Episode 7 for HBO will come out Sunday night. I got it yesterday. And that gives me a lot of time to really digest it, to cover it, work it into my schedule. I really, really appreciate it. And I think that's one of the reasons that HBO gets such strong support from the press. But I have to say, to be fair, people protect the HBO shows with spoilers, but people are really quick to spoil other content. Um, and that's a problem. I don't think Disney Plus could do that. Although Disney Plus has been sending out more and more of their shows, the entire seasons, because I think they just want people to cover them. I do think that season 5, part 1, had excellent cliffhanger endings. I do really feel that at the end of every episode, I was like, let's see what happens next. I mean, that's the key to a streaming series. I think that like a weekly show wants you to feel satisfied, where you're like, that was great. Let me digest it for a week and I'm excited for what happens next week. But I think the binge model makes you want to just keep watching. You're like, I don't need sleep. Let me finish this thing. And I do think in that regard, Stranger Things, this new season was very well constructed. It did, I did watch. I watched all 3 that I got right away, and I was disappointed that I didn't get 4. I mean, I would have liked to have been able to review it when it dropped. This is the only one because of Thanksgiving. With Christmas and New Year's the day after, I'm not going to have any family obligations, so I can maybe be a little bit more on top of it. But it was tough with the holiday drop. So yes, Will has powers. Let me get my little photo. There he is. Will. All right, so Will has powers. We all knew that it was going to happen. But it was still satisfying to see it happen. And I will say, it's Noah Schnapp, right? I think that he looked super cool when he was using his powers. I mean, he looked great. They did a wonderful job filming him. It was really rewarding to see. I think one of the nicest things about it is that it's always great to see someone who's been very weak become very powerful, right? I think it's very empowering to people watching the show. And it's just very cool to see him kind of turn things around. Mystic said bootleg 11. I will say that, by deciding to focus on Will having powers, I do feel 11 was a little shortchanged this season so far. Maybe they'll team up, okay? But, we've been, 11's been our superhero for all this time, and then she just kind of, faded away this episode, this first part. And I thought, as an 11 fan, I found that a little frustrating. Will, I think he's a fine character. Let's face it, he's been a big whiner up until now, and so I don't think, I think people were hoping that he would really step up. And I think for people who relate to the character, but, as someone who relates to 11, I'm like, so I think like, it's hard to switch horses, towards the end, right? You're like, I've been on the 11 train this whole time. They're like, we're jumping over to the Will train. And you're like, okay. I do think the LGBTQ representation is important. I think so. I saw some of you draw comparisons to Wiccan. I feel bad for Wiccan. I don't understand why they're not doing more with Wiccan. He was extremely popular when he was introduced. Some people don't like the casting still. I thought that Joe Locke looked amazing as Wiccan, but for some people, they're still not, sold on that casting. I do think, I would say that the difference between Wiccan and Will is that Will being gay is such a big part of his persona and defines him. He only could unlock his powers once he accepted himself instead of needing someone else to accept him, which was the advice that Robin gave him. And that was beautiful. I was so tired on Thanksgiving with episode 4 that I fell asleep. And I was like, I think I missed some stuff. And I rewound and I was like, I missed some pretty important stuff. But, so that was nice. But I do think that Wiccan, I think that I'm an ally. I'm not a member of the LGBTQ community. But to me, I would think the goal is that, these characters move beyond that, like they're not defined by their sexuality. And so Wiccan, to me, I think one of the great things about that character is that, yes, he's gay, just like all the characters on Agatha all along. And it's a big part of their personalities, because just like personal relationships are for anyone, but it's not like their existence, it's not the reason for the characters to exist, right? And I think that's really, it's like you know, Jonathan Bailey, you know, you don't want every gay character's storyline to have to be about them, you know. And also, you know, I also think we've moved so far in terms of acceptance in real life, you know. You know, it's like, how many times are we going to tell the story that we've told so many times, to the point that I think we've succeeded? So I think, you know, again, that's me as an ally talking. You know, I think obviously this is very important to people, and I think they should get that representation. I would agree, Adam Sphere. I don't think Mike has any idea that Will is into him. I'm surprised that no one has told him and been like, you know, I gotta tell you, your best friend has a crush on you, and you really need to decide how you feel about that, because, you know, you shouldn't be leading him on. I think you need to you know, make it clear to him. But, you know, this is the 80s. You know, it's a very different time period. But yeah, so I'm glad that Will accepted himself. And I do think that was a really beautiful message for anybody, no matter what your sexuality is, that you shouldn't look to others for self-worth. That was really very, very nice. Okay, so then I was intrigued by the fact that he did, I didn't even notice this, but I saw someone point it out online, that 11 does the hand down with her powers, and then Vecna and Will do the hand up. That to me was very interesting. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. So I like that. Welcome to the live stream chat, Ragam. I thought that was kind of a cool idea, and I am somewhat interested in exploring that. I am somewhat interested in exploring what's happening with Will. Some people, you know, he keeps saying Vecna doesn't want him there. I agree with some people that I think Vecna probably does want him there. Because, you know, Vecna could just be like, then get out of here. Vecna is extremely powerful. But part of me feels that maybe Vecna wants to use Will as a vessel to, you know, because he doesn't want to be a bunch of roots forever, right? Let's see what he decides to do. But I'm very curious about that. And on that note, I didn't like this, that they were taking a lot of inspiration from Harry Potter for Will and Vecna. Like, I think if you're going to pull only from 80s things, that's great, right? But now they're pulling from stuff all over the place. They copied The Help with that pie. They're doing they're doing Harry Potter. You know, I think that, and also Harry Potter was so brilliantly original. No matter what you might think of J.K. Rowling, and people have strong feelings about J.K. Rowling these days, when you look at her work, you can't deny that she came up with a really fascinating and intricate story. So I think it's really uncool. Like, I think that while I know that Stranger Things has been an homage type show up until this point, I felt they kind of crossed the line with season 5, and that they were actually copying instead of doing an homage. What's always been very unique is the way they put it together. But this to me was just ripping off certain things, and that really frustrated me. Elliot doesn't get the Harry Potter comparison. Harry Potter, in that, you know, Harry Potter is sorry if you haven't read Harry Potter, but Harry Potter, of course, has a piece of Voldemort inside of him. He's one of the Horcruxes. And so I think people and the Duffer Brothers have confirmed that they have drawn inspiration from Harry Potter for the Vecna-Will relationship. And I feel like that really crosses a line. So that's frustrating to me. That's funny you fell asleep too, Xavier. It's a little like Lord of the Rings. I remember seeing a Lord of the Rings movie, and I fell asleep. And then when I came out afterwards in the lobby, I heard another group of people comparing notes where they all fell asleep. And I think people just like being in the world, and I think that's a big part of it. I mean, I'm not going to not watch Stranger Things, but I do think it's time for it to end, at least for a little while. All right, so let's talk about Vecna. All right, where's my stuff here? Boo-boo, there he is, Mr. Whatsit. All right, CGI versus practical. I love that everybody was making jokes about Vecna's very tiny waist and saying that he was taking Ozempic in the Upside Down. I love the internet. You know, the internet has a lot of hate, and a lot of horrible stuff. But I gotta tell you, people on the internet are hilarious. And I often feel that the internet comes up with better jokes than writing teams that are paid by Hollywood. You know, like there are a lot of really talented people out there. And part of me feels that if I was putting together a joke comedy writing group, I would pay attention to tweets and see if maybe I could maybe find someone who had a good ratio of funny tweets and maybe hire them. Because I think they're like, I often think that the internet comes up with funnier stuff than we see from, old school Hollywood outlets. But otherwise, I think he looked better when it was practical. I think he looked too CGI. I think it lost the humanity of the character. He just seemed, oh, Michael, that's so generous of you. Thank you so much. I know it was probably an awful, like it was, we've all seen the videos of Jamie Campbell Bower having to put, all the makeup on and sit in the chair. But I think it was worth it. I'd be like, you got to do it. I don't know what to tell you. It's like if Colin Farrell didn't want to do the makeup for Penguin, and like for another season they decided to CGI him. You'd be like, what? This just loses. He no longer feels like a living, breathing thing, I guess is how I would describe it. No, Oasis, they skipped to CGI for this season, and I do not like the results. Okay. Mr. Whatsit. Mr. Whatsit either. I think that Jamie Campbell Bower looks so cool as the orderly at the institution, at the mental hospital or the base or whatever it was, the lab. Yeah, the lab. He looked great at the lab. But, he just doesn't fit the 1950s aesthetic. There's just a quality. And also, yeah, I would agree with Oasis. They were like, who do you think Mr. Whatsit is? I'm like, it's clearly Henry. I mean, I was like, it's obviously Henry. I don't understand. Like, they were trying to be like, maybe I'm like, it's obviously Vecna, whatever. He does have a lot of names. I thought it was funny when they made that joke. But I just don't think that Jamie Campbell Bower, I don't think he looks as good in the suit. I don't think the hat works on him. Just the look doesn't work for me. Then I was really disappointed. They had Max go back in time and see his high school experience. And they had Joyce with Winona Ryder's voiceover, right? And that was clearly a reference to the first Shadow, the Broadway show that actually originated in London and then came to Broadway. And I saw it on Broadway, and it was very interesting. But when he showed up at the end of episode 4 at the military base and he saw Joyce, I was really surprised that he didn't say, hi, Joyce. Like, he really knew Joyce from high school. Like, there wasn't even like a recognition. Maybe he doesn't want to give it away. But I would think, like, I believe that's like the first time Vecna has seen any adults, and certainly any from his own life. I mean, like, this guy, if you see the earlier Stranger Things, he has really a lot of history with Hopper and Joyce, like, he knows these people. He spent a considerable amount of time with them in high school. So I think that it would have been an amazing moment for Joyce to be like, oh my God, are we fighting that kid from high school? Like, that would have been amazing. Like, that would have been really interesting. Oh yeah, that's right. The Wheelers, like all these people were, knew him. So I know that most of you didn't see First Shadow, but why bring it into the story then? Why not just ignore it? And that's the problem with prequels. I would have liked him to acknowledge Joyce. It seemed weird to me that he didn't even flinch. All right, then of course there's the sister reveal. That 11's sister from the season that nobody liked is actually the one that they're holding at the military base in the Upside Down. Everybody thought it was Vecna. This was ruined for me, by the way, thanks to social media. That's the other problem with dropping these things at a time where it's difficult to watch them. I would have loved to have been surprised that it was the sister and not Vecna being held, or that Will got his powers at the end of episode 4. But no, I'm on social media for work. And also I just enjoy I do think it's the town square of the world. And so I enjoy being on social media. And that was totally ruined for me on Thanksgiving or Wednesday, actually. And I was like, well, that sucks. But yeah, so I knew she was going to be in there. I'm curious to see what they do with her. They're certainly getting a lot of people with powers. They got Will, they got 8, they got 11. They got the whole span of numbers. It's like Sesame Street, man. But again, I'm like, is this gonna water down 11 even more? I mean, I just don't know how it's gonna work out. But I mean, I don't know. Like, it was a good thing that it wasn't Vecna. I thought that was interesting. But at the same time, I don't think that many people were excited to see her because they were like, "Oh no, not that character from the bad season." Wanda's attorney says 8 plus 11 plus 1 equals 20. What the heck does, I mean, okay. I mean, maybe that means something. I don't know what it would mean, but okay. All right. So I thought one of the things that I thought was absolutely ridiculous. Oh, 20 and 20 kills Vecna and oh, that's good. Oh, then good job, Wanda's attorney. I don't know these D&D rules. They gotta explain this stuff to us. I never played Dungeons and Dragons. I have no idea what the rules are. Oh, in season 4, Erica defeated Vecna by rolling a 20. Well, that's nice. I mean, like, that's cool, but I wish that they would make these things a little more obvious. Who's won? Is Will, I guess, one? He was the first. No, one isn't. But Henry's one. I guess if Will is acting as Henry, he becomes one. That's actually somewhat interesting. But it's, I don't know. Let's see what happens. Okay. That is like a really deep cut. I think that I would have liked, Mike's got nothing to do but have everybody be in love with him. Why can't he come in here and be like, 20? Maybe they will when 11 says, here's 8. And then they go, oh my God, that's 20. Okay. So one of the things that really frustrated me is that the adults in the show continue to be totally in the dark. That really frustrated me and I thought was annoying. For instance, all the parents still have no idea what's coming on. Like when Nancy and Mike were like, maybe we should have told our parents. I'd be like, yeah. How did you not tell your parents? How did you not look into the invisible person that your sister was talking to? Obviously, I've seen some people on the internet go, well, people have invisible friends. Yeah, but these people know they're dealing with a supernatural entity. I would really want to have some answers. And that's right, Dane. Why did they ask why the government had them on lockdown? Like, who just sits there and goes, I mean, Derry, welcome to Derry gets away with it because they have this thing where it is shedding, evilness, which affects the townsfolk. So that's fine. But it was just weird to me that none of the, I mean, like when those parents, when the military came to get the kids and they were like, we're here for your daughter who's watching The Sword and the Stone. I was like, why are those parents not like, why are you taking our kid? Can we go with our kid? I don't agree to this. I just thought that was crazy. And I think it was horrible for the Wheeler kids not to tell their parents. All right, then the military. A lot of military people died in episode 4. And I got to tell you, I was a little frustrated watching that because I was like, look, sometimes the military, a lot of times the military is not your friend, right? I think that is like, I mean, obviously sometimes these groups cross the line in law enforcement, but a lot of times, they're very tough because they deal with a lot of crazy stuff and they need to have their guard up all the time. But I do think that a lot of the time, I mean, look at Hopper. Hopper was the local law enforcement and he's been really helpful. So I thought it was crazy that not one person in the military, I couldn't believe that scientist got murdered, right? In the closet when they were using him as a hostage, killed by friendly fire. But it's like, there's not one military person who's like, maybe we should talk to these kids and find out what they know. I just felt there was like a lot of senseless death and that the kids were withholding really vital information that maybe the military could have used. I mean, obviously Linda Hamilton's character is evil, but there's got to be somebody who's okay, like, I don't know. It was tough. And that's right. A lot of innocent soldiers died, they didn't know what was going on. Yeah, that one soldier who tried to protect the kids, when Vecna got his hand through his face, that was nuts. They were like, CGI hand, what can we do with it? And you're like, well, I mean, you found something. But and it was kind of crazy that all the military people died, but not one character on the show died. I thought that was frustrating. By the way, what's with the pop collars in all the military personnel. I was like, the military leadership is rocking some insane pop collars. I thought that was very funny. All right. Then, lack of new characters. It occurred to me that one of the issues with this season is that this is the first time, well, there's Holly, who we'll talk about in a minute, but this is the first time that they haven't introduced a major new character, right? Like, usually there's always some new character that comes along to kind of like become involved in the situation. And I think, well, Linda Hamilton, she's barely there. You know, like there's no Eddie, there's no Robin. I guess because they have so many other characters already. The brother, Max's brother, who sacrificed himself. Like there's just there's nobody like that, this season. And I think that has an effect. Who's Derek? Is Derek that kid? Is Derek that little kid? He is? Oh yeah, I really didn't like him. I thought he was extremely dislikable, and I thought he was annoying and could not act. I really disliked him. I would have recast that kid. Okay. Now they did bring in Holly. All right, so let me get my posters back up here. All right, so here is Holly. Now, with all due respect to this young actress, she looks great. She has a great look, right? But I think she's really bland. Like Stranger Things is a show of intense personality, a lot of quirky characters. And Holly just doesn't fit with the rest of the group. I think like she's not offensive in any way. I mean, she's fine, but she doesn't pop like any of the other characters. So I think that it was hard to spend so much time with her. And also, again, I guess her brother and sister didn't tell her anything, but I mean, she did get sucked through a wall, right? I mean, like, she just seems to not really take any of this seriously. And like, what about Stranger Danger? I don't know why she was like, Mr. Whatsit, instant pal. Like, yeah, somebody, Rhino brought up Erica. Erica's phenomenal. I love Erica. I wish they'd used Erica instead of Holly Wheeler, actually. Wouldn't that have been so much better? That would have been such a much better idea. I don't need Holly. I would have liked, and then it would have been done something for frickin' Caleb to have to do besides just run around after Max. That would be great. I guess it is like she did, and then she put on, like, I don't know. She's just, I guess the point is that she's such a different personality and in such a different social group than the kids we've been following for all the seasons. Like, she's like just a very different kid. Like, she would never sit with them at the lunch table. And so it's very jarring to follow her around. And one of the ways that that shows itself is that she uses references for A Wrinkle in Time. And I'm like, you gotta be freaking kidding me, man. I mean, first of all, Wrinkle in Time is not very popular. I mean, it's a very popular book that everybody reads in school. But I mean, that movie flopped, man. That movie flopped. So, I mean, yeah, I would have loved if she'd done Alice in Wonderland instead, Wanda's attorney. But I mean, her all being like, let's talk about A Wrinkle in Time. I'm like, I can't learn it or remember any more books from childhood. I'm sorry. And I'm not a big Wrinkle in Time fan. So I was like, we got to stay on metaphor, right? So like, that was a little frustrating to me. So I got to tell you, I mean, I don't dislike Holly. I hope she makes it out of there okay. But I'm not a fan. I just think she's a little boring. All right. Then the other thing is, before we get to the characters, I really felt when I was watching it, like this was just, we'd done it all before, like, I've seen some other people talk about them abandoning the season 4 cliffhanger where the two worlds had combined, where the Upside Down had created such a tear that it was now a part of the real world, and like the particles were floating in the real world, and that just all went away, which I thought was like really frustrating. I mean, I guess now we're having like military operations and there's a military base within the Upside Down, but I just felt they really pulled back on that, and it just felt to me like we were doing the same type of missions. Like the Turnbow Trap was a great name for the episode. It was very clever, but I'm like, dude, we've done this like for 4 seasons already. It was just the same thing, and that was a little frustrating to me. Also, I didn't like bringing in a new group of kids. I'm like, I already have a group of kids that I'm following. I don't need a whole new group of kids, right? Like, I wasn't loving that. So I was like, let's just focus on the ridiculous number of characters we already have. You don't need to introduce like 10 more. So I didn't like that. I was just like, it was really, I was like, it's too many. And then, as I said, the missions were all very similar. You know, Hopper's back on the Upside Down. He got shrapnel, but he actually recovered pretty well from the shrapnel. It was just tough, you know. I just, again, I was just feeling the same stuff. And then something that also really frustrated me is that I didn't feel there were any stakes for the main characters. You didn't even feel the military deaths. They were like, all these military guys are dead. Nobody cared. I mean, we didn't care. The audience didn't care. Nobody cared. There was no stakes. And I think one of the things that bothered me, that's right, the parents didn't even die. Not even one of them. Right? They're like, they're fine. And you're like, what? You know, like they don't make demogorgons like they used to, man. But I think one of the things that bothered me the most is that while I think that Robin and Will's conversation was really, really important, and it was wonderful that she said that to him, and it was important, you know, I mean, who knows how much time they have? They gotta, you know, she has to tell him what she can while she can. But the fact that they giggled then in the tunnels when everybody else was like, hey, hurry up, we're running late, we have to save all these kids from Vecna. That was just really frustrating to me. I was like, is there no sense of urgency? Like, I thought this was like a really important situation. Like, it was weird to me that the show would keep stopping for like really inane conversations. They'd be like, let's have a conversation about our feelings. Or let's like, it was just really, I was like, is there a ticking clock here or not? So that was like a little frustrating to me. Like a good comparison is in Die Hard. Die Hard, you know, John McClane has a really great conversation with that officer from Family Matters about things that have happened to them. But, you know, that was a lull in the fighting. And they both, you know, again, you know, John McClane was saying, he didn't know how much time he had left or if he'd make it out of there alive. And it was a very serious conversation. And I felt like the conversations here didn't have that same gravitas. They seemed a lot like kids just talking at school. And I thought that detracted from the story. All right, now let's go over the characters. And again, as I said at the very end, we'll do a Q&A. And I appreciate so many of you joining in, member or not. I see you there. Hello. And so we're going to talk about the characters, and then we'll do a Q&A. Okay. Alrighty. Bam! Let's go through our characters. And I've got their little posters here so we can see them. All right. 11. I love Millie Bobby Brown. Okay? I think she's great in the role. But, oh yeah, first thing I wanted to say, well, let's talk about two other things up front. All right, so they're all a lot older, like to the point of ridiculousness. Like when the show started and I watched episode 1, that was one of the reasons it was so hard for me to get into episode 1 was I was like, you're all super seniors. Like I thought Dustin in particular aged way too much. Like he looked like he should be investigated for being at the school. I was like, whoa, buddy. You know, like it was not good. And they, you know, I think a number of them don't have the same quality as now that they're older that they did as child actors. So I don't think some of them would have been cast today, you know, if they hadn't been cast as child actors. You know, you never know what you're going to get, you know, when these little kids grow up. Then as for the quality of the acting versus the writing, some of the acting was pretty bad. I'll give you that. But I thought a lot of it was the writing too. You know, I think again, as I said, lack of stakes. What they did to Robin is just horrible. We'll talk about that. But it was tough, you know. I don't think the acting bothered me quite as much as it bothered some other people. To me, the real issue was that they just looked not only older, but kind of weirder. You know, I was just like, what happened to everybody? Okay, so let's talk about the characters. Jose says, it's the safest season. I would say that's a great comment. I would agree that it was very safe, for sure. All right, so 11. I agree. Her outfit is horrible. Her outfit is so bad. Now, I didn't even realize it because I'm not a fan of the Goonies movie. I think I watched it once as an adult because I was like, people were like, how did you not see the Goonies? And I was like, I never saw it. But, K.Y. Kwan was getting all this attention, and I was like, I guess I should watch it. And I did not care for it. But anyway, apparently Josh Brolin wears this outfit that she has on in the movie. I don't care. I could not care less. She looks awful in it, I mean, I think that I could see why they wanted to do it, but once she put the outfit on and came out, I'd be like, well, obviously she needs to wear something else. She just looked so bad. Like, it was frustrating. I mean, I don't understand why she would even want to wear it. Like, really, I can't believe that nobody was like, I mean, it didn't even look comfortable. It was awful. Like, really, it kind of, I would say, honestly, ruined the character for me because she looked just so bad. Like, just so bad. And in the past, she's looked fantastic. So I just thought she looked so bad. It was really frustrating. All right. Also, I feel she could do more with her powers. I'm like, it's been like a long time. Let's start. I mean, like, she did more with her powers last season than she's doing this season. Like, she's hopping around with her TK a bit, but I feel she could do more. Why isn't she eating Eggos? I mean, like, come on, do the thing. Do the thing. All right, Hopper. Man, I used to love Hopper. But I gotta say, I don't care what I don't care what kind of press release they do for this show. It's a lot of smoke around this guy at this point. First with Lily Allen, and now with Millie Bobby Brown. And it's just kind of made me feel differently about him. Like, there's one scene in one of the episodes where he has to lie on top of Millie Bobby Brown to protect her. And I just, like, for a moment, I was like, oh, that must have been horrible for her. Like, I don't know. Like, I would hope the directors would be like, maybe he doesn't lie on top of her. Maybe he, like, has her get behind her. Like, let's just put it in a different way. Like, I don't know. And I agree, he's not as charming as he used to be. And also, why is he still yelling and complaining? Everybody was in a very bad mood this season, and that's contagious. Like, I was like, one of the nicest things about Hopper is that in the past, he's been very positive, and he's like a lovable teddy bear. Like, that's what everybody loves about him. He's a bear. Look at him. He's a bear. And that was so great, and I just, I miss his positivity. I felt like not only the situations, but the characters really were rolled back to like seasons 2 and 3, when I felt like in season 4, we'd made a lot of progress. All right. Then Joyce, much like Madeline Stowe over on Welcome to Derry, Winona Ryder is aging beautifully. She looks so great. I really love her character. I love Winona Ryder. I'm very happy for Winona Ryder. I think she's got wonderful personality. I don't really know if her acting was bad. I think it was more the character was bad. I felt bad that everybody was being so mean to her and dismissive. I'm like, Joyce flew to Russia and saved Hopper. Like, I don't understand why they were doing stuff where they left her behind. To see her downgraded again to mom really annoyed me. I don't like her being separated from Hopper. Like, they've also gone to like the boring part of their relationship. I'm like, I missed all the hotness in their relationship. They kissed once in Stranger Things 4. Where's the honeymoon period? Why did I miss the honeymoon period? I've been waiting for it for 4 seasons. So that was kind of annoying. I mean, they're already like in the comfortable mode. And I'm like, I don't want that. Where's the scene of them making out or getting caught in bed, And it's like, awkward. Oh, this cabin we're hiding out in isn't big enough, So that was tough. And yeah, she got the flux capacitor. I mean, I think Joyce is cool enough that she would have watched Back to the Future with her kids. I just really didn't like what they were doing with Joyce. I was like, come on. Joyce is a cool adult. And then Murray. I love my guy Murray. I love my adults. I didn't like separating Hopper, Joyce, and Murray. They're the best. Murray is so funny. I mean, whenever he showed up, it made me happier. I know not everybody might be a Murray fan, but I love Murray. I can't get enough of Murray. I think he's great. I think he was very funny. I don't understand. I would have loved to see how he was getting the things that he was bringing to them. Like he was getting some pretty like crazy stuff. And and also I was a little frustrated, just like he was, that people weren't more appreciative of what he was doing. I don't know about the actor's problems. Maybe that's one of the reasons he's been sidelined. I'm not aware of things that he's done. That would be very unfortunate. Is every actor on the show going to be ruined? Oh my God, I've lost Hopper. Now I'm going to lose this guy. Ah. All right, so that would be very unfortunate. Okay, why don't they do background checks on these actors before they hire them? All right. Then Linda frickin' Hamilton. Oh my God, what a waste. First of all, did anybody else notice? I don't know if it's the hairstyle or what. Her bouffant hairdo. I made myself snoot. She has the biggest head I've ever seen. Like her head is huge. Like and she's so tiny. Like they say that actors are supposed to have a big head. Like her head's really big. Like she's so small, and then she's got like a freaking bobblehead walking around the military base. And I was like, this is nuts. And also she's so tiny, I don't find her particularly threatening, right? Also, that's Sarah Connor. Why is Sarah Connor mean? I'm like, she's a hero. Like, why wouldn't she, like, she should be helping everybody. Like, I want to see her being Sarah Connor again. So, I don't know. I did not care for her character. I have no idea what her character's trying to do. Like, I mean, I guess she's the new Matthew Modine. She actually kind of has this hairstyle, interestingly enough. But I liked Matthew Modine a lot more. I thought he was more interesting. I just feel like I would like to know what Linda Hamilton's up to. You know, like she just was kind of being mean to everybody. You know, like I think she kind of represented like everything that's bad with female leadership, which I found very frustrating. I was like, you can't be nice to one of these guys on the base. I mean, they're all being very respectful of you and following your commands. You can't be nice to a couple of them, for Pete's sake? That was really bothering me. All right. Mike. He's got nothing to do. He has absolutely nothing to do. And also, he's supposed to be in a relationship with 11, but I don't see them doing any dating either. Like, I think it would have been nice in the first episode to maybe establish the personal relationships of these characters a little bit more. I don't know. That's right. He's in the middle of a love triangle, and he has all the problems that a female character would have in that position. You know? And again, I feel kind of bad that he's leading Will on. I'm like, why doesn't somebody tell him about the situation? It's been bothering me since last season. And the fact that and he doesn't understand and he doesn't pick up on it. I mean, it's just crazy to me. Let's see. Mr. Orion doesn't think that he's leading Will on. No, I don't know. I really feel like it's a problem. I think this has to be settled, you know? I feel bad for Will in particular, you know? But, you know, it was a different time. So there's a complexity to it. But I'm a big believer in people should know. I feel they should have told the parents what was going on with the Upside Down and Vecna. I think Joyce should know that that's Henry Creel. I feel that Mike should know about his best friend. I mean, I really feel that this stuff should, I mean, it's like really silly not to talk about it. But, you know, that's me, okay? But yeah, he has, in my opinion, absolutely nothing to do. I also thought it was crazy that he did not die in the military raid. He was leading those kids back and forth all over the base, and I'm like, how are you still alive? So that was pretty crazy. All right, Dustin. I didn't like Dustin before, but now I really dislike Dustin. I don't even remember Mike's speech, to be honest with you. So Dustin, one of the best things about Dustin has been his sparkling personality, and that he's always positive. Now, I understand that he's very sad about what happened to Eddie, but I don't like angry Dustin. I think he's a real problem. I also don't like that he's constantly fighting with Steve. I'm like, dude, like they're fighting at times when it makes no sense to fight, when they're putting everybody and themselves in danger. So I just really, yeah, he is bullying Steve, and Steve's being very nice to him. I just, yeah, I'm glad to see a couple other people agree with me. I've never been a Dustin fan, and now I think he's intolerable. And again, he really looks like someone, if you saw him hanging around the school, you would call the authorities. And you'd be like, there's this weird dude hanging out back, trying to talk to the kids, and I think that you should see what he's up to. Like, he looks very sketchy. Okay. All right, Caleb. So it's been like freaking 5 seasons, man. They have never given this character really anything to do. He was briefly popular, which was nice, but then he left right away. Oh, Lucas. What? Oh, this is the actor's Caleb. Oh, I think that's the name of the actor. Sorry. Yeah, that's right. I mean, like, I think, like, he just doesn't have enough to do. And I feel, so it's Lucas. I'm sorry. So I feel really bad. He's just, I mean, I think he's a good actor. I think he has a lot of personality. He's one of the few actors on the show who I think has aged, gotten older really well. I do agree with everyone else that I think, obviously it's up to the black community to decide what they think of his hairstyle. And from what I've seen online, they're not happy about it. I understand that this was like, kid and play, and it's kind of a reference to the time period, but it doesn't, I think people are just, I mean, people look for representation to certain characters. And I think I've always felt that it's important that people are happy with the representation they get. From what I've seen online, I do not believe that the black fans are very happy with the way Caleb/Lucas has been handled. And he just really never has anything to do. You know, it's frustrating to me, particularly as like the black character on the show. The fact that they've never given him a storyline and he's never really had a hero moment. I guess helping Max, but it's like the kind of things that Hollywood used to do. Where they're like, oh, he's there. And you're like, but you're not doing anything with them. And they're like, well, what do you want from me? And you're like, you guys got to fix this. And in a lot of ways, the Hollywood has fixed it. But they haven't here. Okay. Yeah, he's going to drag Max's body all over the hospital in the next couple of episodes. But again, I feel like he should get more to do. I think just being Max's boyfriend isn't enough for him, in my opinion. Not like Erica. I love Erica. Erica should have been, I mean, I don't think she'd fall for Vecna. Mr. Whatsit would be like, hey, kid. And she'd be like, get away from me. But I just love her. I think she's so funny. And I thought it was a wonderful development that she was so into science. And she was talking a lot in class and knew all the answers and was like this great student. I just loved that. And the fact that they never do anything with her is really frustrating to me. I think she has so much potential and they've just never done anything with it. And that is annoying to me. But that was really, the little stuff that they did was really great. And that's right. They had her do the thing from The Help with the pie. A lot of poisoning people. You should not poison people. It's actually illegal to tamper with people's drinks or food. And I don't know why this show and Welcome to Derry are trying to make it seem it's okay. I don't know what the line is. I don't know what the Erica line is. I feel bad. Oh, you shouldn't have eaten the pie? Is that the line? She's great. She's just so funny. And I think that, again, like, it would have been more interesting for her. I mean, has she ever gone into the Upside Down? Like, she's always sidelined. So, yeah. It was the pie line. You should have eaten the damn pie. I can't believe she was ready with the needle. She's pretty hardcore. All right, then Max. All right, so Max, she's got one foot out the door on this show. I mean, Joseph Quinn was doing really well for a while. Not looking like it's working out so well for him. But now it's Sadie Sink's turn. And she has amazing things coming up. She obviously had a big Broadway show that was really successful. Now she's going to be in Spider-Man. I mean, she's doing extremely, extremely well. And she has a really great look. I think she looks fantastic on the show. And I did think it was a great reveal at the end of episode 3 when she was the one who had knocked on the door and gotten Holly to go to the cave. I was like, that's pretty awesome. You know, I don't know how often she's going to play that song, that Kate Bush song. She's probably sick of it at this point. But I like the character. I think she's very interesting, and I liked what she did. And I do think, it was funny to see her scenes with Holly Wheeler, because it just showed a good example of two very pretty actresses, but one is bland and one is interesting. Just not only from the way they carry themselves, but their personalities, and it just, it was crazy to see them together. But she was great. Okay. And I did think that was a particularly good reveal, that she was stuck in Henry's mind. That was actually one of my favorite reveals that they did. All right, let's talk about Steve, Nancy, and Jonathan. Hold on, they get their own little thing here. Steve, Nancy, and Jonathan. I am not enjoying this love triangle at all. And if Nancy gets back together with Steve after dating Jonathan for years, not 4 years, but for years, I think Nancy and Jonathan are irritating, because I'm like, you guys should clearly break up. Clearly Nancy and Jonathan don't like each other anymore, but for some reason they're still dating. Again, I don't know why nobody's like, you guys clearly don't like each other. So yeah, that's what I think. I think that they should clearly break up. And I don't like Steve and John. Thank you, Echelon Angel. I also think that Steve and Jonathan's competitiveness with each other also doesn't make any sense to me. I think it's crazy. I don't know where it comes from. I don't know why either one of them thinks that it would make Nancy one over the other. I mean, who cares who gets to the top of that thing, that tower first? I just don't care. And yeah, Degaitai, you say Steve needs to move on. And I would say that Steve is talk about arrested development. I mean, Steve, he had so much going for him at the beginning of the show, and he is just totally lost, to the point where he's Robin's assistant at the radio station. And everyone's really mean to him, and he sacrificed so much for all these kids. It's just, I feel bad for him. I think Steve should move away. I don't think this is good for you, Steve. I think you clearly are someone who needs to leave. Oh, thanks, Wiki Nomad. Oh, you think he's going to die? That'd be horrible. Oh, not Steve. I am enjoying all of his flirty interviews, though, with Jonathan in real life. I'm like, what's going on with you two? But I love it. Although, I think, aren't Jonathan and Nancy dating in real life or something? Okay. Finally, Robin. Man, this character was so great. Everybody loved Robin. It made everybody think that Maya Hawke was fantastic. And she's actually gone on to do great things as well, particularly Anxiety in Inside Out. One of my favorite characters who I relate to. But boy, I've seen some people comment about this online, and I couldn't agree more. I think she's super annoying this season. She does feel like a caricature Dane. I feel like, she won't stop talking, right? And I think not only does she keep going, but she says nothing of value. She's just regurgitating words. I think her jokes aren't funny. I don't think she has anything particularly interesting to say. I do think she has some good ideas still. But, and I have liked her storyline, and I do think that it's been nice what she did for Will. But yeah, she's overly quirky. She's just quirky on steroids. And it's just crazy. And I think she comes across, one of the great things about Robin when she started out was that she was there for other people. She does that a little bit this season with Will. But I feel like a lot of the times now when she's talking, she seems to be talking just for her own enjoyment. I feel I think she's moved on from Steve, and when she's talking way too fast as the radio DJ. Like that thing where she was doing the radio DJ opening. I was like, it's a good thing you have no competition to run this radio station, because you're doing an awful job. Does anyone even listen to this? It's crazy to me, because again, I liked her so much when she was introduced. I liked her. She came in 3. She was amazing, and I even liked her in season 4. she's been fantastic. But this season, I think she's just, you know, she has no nuance. She has no levels. She's just, it's too much. All right, so that's my thoughts. I saw someone say, did you like any of the characters? I kind of liked Will at the end, to be honest with you. But I didn't really like any of the characters, I'm sorry to say. I think I think the show is running on the nostalgia of what it was, you know? And also, everybody wants to see what happens. I liked Erica. I liked Erica and Max. I think Erica and Max were great. But I do a poll for a favorite episode, but I'm pretty sure 4 would blow all the other ones out of the water. But yeah, I just feel like obviously we want to see how it all ends, but I feel like it just doesn't seem new at all. All right, so let's do a Q&A. Because thank you for joining me for this discussion. I really appreciate it, especially because I was kind of late to the party. I promise that for the next 2 drops, I'll be more on top of it. Zangatsu says, as a gay man, stories like Will and Wickens are important and crucial. There are still people like Will. It is important to keep telling their stories. Their queerness affects their lives. It doesn't define their character. That's really beautiful, you know? I think that's really beautiful. And I really hope that people get that from this show. But I think the show, it needs to work for the whole audience. You know, and I think that's one of the issues. You know, it's funny. We talk about a lot of content in Hollywood becoming too message focused, right? And I think that's kind of an issue here. I think they became so hyper focused on the Will reveal that they kind of abandoned the rest of the season of what they had to accomplish. I'm glad you guys are enjoying my breakdown. Trisha says, try to buy tickets this morning for the finale, all sold out. You know, I was thinking for a moment of going. I was like, oh, but it has like no theaters in New York City, which I thought was crazy. What I decided was I would rather watch it right away instead of getting spoiled. I'm not going to watch it on New Year's Eve, but I'll watch it on New Year's Day and cover it on January 2nd is what I'll do. But yeah. Mridul Sharma, the fact that Will and Robin's discussion meant so much to you is really beautiful. And I think that the show will be always very important for that element. Isaac says, I was going to go see the... Oh, so you just said that. All right. King says, is Mike Will's Tammy? That's the vibe I got from Robin's speech. Will tried to flirt and Mike didn't respond. No, I don't think that's it. I think, you know... I think that Will has projected, you know, and again, I'm speaking as an ally, but this is just how I see it. I think that Will has... You know, because he has feelings. He's had feelings for Mike for so long. Okay. Some people I saw, people online were pointing out that people called it in season 1 when they were much younger, like 10 years ago, that the character had a crush on Mike. And I think he's made it that if Mike doesn't accept him, then the world wouldn't accept him. And that's really unfortunate. I mean, Joyce, I love Joyce, but I will say she's not doing a great parenting job. Let's see here. I mean, Jonathan knows about his brother, and he's not helping him either. Where are Joyce and Jonathan in helping Will? I mean, he needs serious guidance. Thank goodness that Robin stepped in. Let's see here. Guy Ty, who do I think is going to die? I bet you nobody freaking dies. Wouldn't that be annoying? Zingata says, I agree on 11's outfit, though. Right? So hideous. So ugly. Let's see here. Fahad says, I'm open to any ending, literally. Any but that it's been a Dungeons and Dragons game all the time. Yeah, I saw that theory online. That some people feel they've just been playing Dungeons and Dragons. Boy, they're really into this game, if that's the case. And how did the parents become involved if it's just a Dungeons and Dragons game? I don't know about that. Jason the attorney says, late to the chat, but did you discuss how Holly presented as Dorothy Alice from the fairy tales? Was that... I think it definitely was intentional, for sure, but I don't like the mixing of the metaphors. I mean, we're doing Dungeons and Dragons and like that kind of nerd stuff. Like, there are different types of nerds, but we got to stay in our camp, right? We're doing D&D nerdness. And I think it's reminding me a little bit of the problem people had with Alien Earth, where they're like, let's do Peter Pan. but then let's also do this. And you're like, you gotta pick a metaphor and stick with it. The deck officer says, what's your favorite season? I think it would be 4. I really enjoyed 4. Somebody tried to remind me that I apparently didn't like the end episodes of 4. Maybe I didn't. I don't remember at this point. But I loved the stuff with Henry, with the reveal of him as the orderly. I thought that was great. And I really enjoyed Jamie Campbell Bower back then. Not loving his performance this season, but I really loved him. And I liked the action. Like, remember, like, I thought it was like such good action sequences. Like when the military raided the house and they had to escape in the pizza van. That was some great stuff. I much preferred that season. That action sequence was so superior to the action sequence at the military base. Phil says, do you think that Welcome to Derry being so unique and incredible, but also being so similar to Stranger Things highlights the weak? No, I think it's more that Stranger Things is, Welcome to Derry is new. It's newer, right? But it's maybe similar. I think they're very, very similar. And who's to say that Welcome to Derry down the line won't have similar issues? Did I miss a super chat earlier on? Let me go see how I can find it. Alex says Nancy should get her own spin-off show investigating some things. I think you like the actress? I think she's okay. I don't know if they're going to do a spin-off show. Let's see here. Oh, Adam Sphere says Vecna is building a big clock with 12 kids. Maybe. I'm not going to go back and watch all the seasons. I know a lot of people did, but I don't think the project should rely on you having done that to make it enjoyable. President Progressive says the standout thing about the show is the way it paces the different groupings and story threads with great. Yeah, that's right. And I don't think they have a lot of good threads. I think it all feels like one story this season, which maybe is another thing. Like you don't have like change of pace, And Adam Sphere says the show reminds you that bigger isn't always better. Maybe not. I felt season 4 felt bigger than this season, honestly. Christopher says, what are you hoping for the rest of the season? I'd like lots of answers. I'd like the stakes to be raised. I'd like to see 11 use her powers and like do stuff more. I'm not sure what I would like to see, to be honest with you. I feel like, again, it's just, I think we're kind of going in circles a little bit. Oh, Ace, I'm glad it stands up to a rewatch. That's fantastic. I'm glad some of you are enjoying it. Jonah, I'm glad that it means a lot to you, And I think that for people who can relate to Will, obviously it's going to be a lot more special than those of us who don't relate to Will. But I still appreciate Will's storyline. Bye, Danny. I'm glad you liked Vecna's entrance, Trisha. I saw that the Duffer Brothers did that based on the Darth Vader reveal from the end of Rogue One. And again, I was like, can't you guys come up with anything yourself? Like that started to really annoy me. Like these other people have worked so hard on their own projects, and the Duffer Brothers are just going around like copying what else they think is cool. And I think that makes me think less of them as creatives. It feels like there's nothing original in this season, Fahad, which I tweeted. Wanda's attorney says it seems similar to Weapons. Maybe. I wasn't feeling it being too much like Weapons. I do think they have way too many characters. That's why they should kill some of them off. Like they haven't been willing to really kill off any main characters. And so they've gotten to a point where they have too many to really sustain. Merdul says, do you think the Duffer Brothers would be good at DC or Marvel? I'm not really liking them right now. I'm kind of like off the Duffer Brothers at the moment. Juan, I'm glad you joined the live stream, even though you're not a Stranger Things fan. Well, I'm going to work to have 3 live streams this week. Jason says, hate to raise this, but does anyone else find the way the children are being turned stomach turning? The visuals feel very inappropriate. Yeah, I've seen some comparisons as to the kind of behavior that Vecna is exhibiting. And I would agree. I think it seems like they're really making him a parallel to a predator. Yeah, I would agree with that. Damien, maybe we'll find out about what's going on with 8, you know? But I don't think people are invested enough in 8 to be excited about it. Regam, I'm glad you feel that this thing will turn around and that I'll feel better about it. I hope I do, you know? Marky Mark, I love that, says the whole story of Vecna needing 12 kids to open a portal to merge the worlds is a straight up X-Men Inferno ripoff. And also Buffy season 5. Yeah, I mean, I'm not familiar with the X-Men Inferno storyline. Um, I wonder when that came out. I don't read a lot of like really older comics. But you know, I wouldn't be surprised. And then Trisha says, "Do you think we need to see the first shadow?" Not at this point. I mean, they did so little with it, and you know, there was a Patty. Remember Bob, Sean Astin's character, his sister, actually had a romantic entanglement with Henry Creel, and I thought for sure she would maybe show up. Wiki Nomad says, I thought there was going to be a time jump. It's yeah, I would have liked there have been a time jump as well. Hey, Sob sister, thanks for joining. Just a few more minutes and then I gotta go. Dallas said they saw the first shadow, and I'm still hoping to see references from the play. That would be nice if they did. Oh, you want a poll, Jordan? Polly poll poll? All right, hold on. Start a poll. Okay, what did you think of Stranger Things 5 Part 1? Loved it. Pretty good. Meh. And then didn't like it. Okay, anybody can vote, by the way. Anyone who's watching can vote. You don't have to be a member to vote. I'm glad you enjoyed this conversation, Elise. That makes me so happy. Fahad says, why is Joyce at the Wheeler's house at the start of the season and not at Hopper's? I think Hopper's hiding. I guess they could have lived there, but I guess they don't want to establish that they know Hopper because then the military seems to be doing a very bad job. I mean, Hawkins isn't that big. The fact they couldn't find 11 to me seems ridiculous. Ryan, I'm glad you also joined us, even though you don't like Stranger Things. Harry says the Wheeler's house under attack was the moment that hooked me. That was a pretty good. I thought that was pretty good. Although I felt like I don't understand how they could have any kind of chance against a Demogorgon. That's right, Doc Hayes. How off the grid is Hopper's cabin? It's like an alternate reality, it must seem like. Marky Mark says, who was that girl they were chasing in episode 1? I think she was just a random jogger. And Isaac points out that it's rough for this season to follow season 4, considering how good season 4 was. That's true. I thought season 4 was movie level good. And so it's frustrating to kind of backslide. I think that is the word I would use overall for Stranger Things season 5, and that would be backslide. I feel we lost all the progress that we made. And I would agree with Trisha that 11 really needs to power up. I need to see her at full power. No more. Can she do it? Can she use her powers? Is she strong enough? Let's go full Jean Grey. I mean, this is it. This is it. I mean, Will seemed more powerful than 11. And like, he just got started, man. And I really don't like breaking it up into different parts. Yeah, it would be great if 11 could fly, Jordan. That would make me very happy. I mean, again, some of you relate to Will. I relate to 11. So I want to see 11 do great things. So to see her sidelined is tough. I would agree, Oase. I think weekly would be fantastic. And we could be having this discussion and I could do full breakdowns. I think weekly would have been wonderful. And that's right, Trisha. I think those sirens are very effective, the sound waves. And I thought that was interesting to come, Adam Sphere says, yeah, the kryptonite. Yeah, I do think that it would have been nice to, I thought that was good, interesting. I would have liked to have known how the military figured that out. All right, let me close the poll. Okay. What did you think of Stranger Things Part 1? 39% said pretty good, 30% loved it, 23% said meh, but only 8% didn't like it. I would say meh. I also wouldn't say I didn't like it, but I don't think I would go as far as pretty good. Well, let's see what they decide to do. Really quick, just, no poll because I don't have enough spaces for it. But who, some of you said you relate to different characters. I relate to 11. What character does everybody here relate to? Oh, look, we got a lot of Wills. Max, Will and Robin. Erica, I love the Erica love. Jason says, where are all the powers even derived from? Decades of identifying and grabbing specials. Yeah, and they all seem to have the same powers. They never really got into that. Oh, I'd really like to see all the Nancy love. I think that's really nice. I like Steve, too. I like Steve Arrington a lot. Oh, look, Wanda's attorney's a Steve. Yeah, someone did say Barb. That was pretty funny. Trisha likes Max. I'm sorry that you have brother trauma. Vecna! And Ezekiel says, you can't spell America without Erica. I love that. That's from the show, right? That's great. And then official Liam says, if 11 doesn't go full Jean Grey, this show would have been a waste. Couldn't agree more. Could not agree more. All right. I'm interesting. Like, I think these are great characters. I don't even know why they needed Holly, to be honest with you. I don't understand why they couldn't have used somebody else's scenes. And as soon as they pitched and they said, Vecna needs new kids, I would have been like, what? What about us? What's wrong with the kids that we have? I think I would have much preferred to spend time with the characters that we have. And I think it was crazy. Dane, military soldier number 7 is pretty funny. I like that. All right. I had a great time with you guys as always. There will be a live stream tomorrow earlier in the day. And we'll do a regular live stream tomorrow with news stories. Okay, everybody. Bye-bye. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.